The thesis I am presenting today is titled Multilingualism and Diplomacy in International Organizations, a look from the booth and toward the future. This work stems from a desire to critically examine the relationship between language and diplomacy in the functioning of international organizations. The objective is twofold. On one hand, to describe the language regimes adopted by multilateral institutions such as the United Nations, the European Union, and the Council of Europe. On the other hand, to reflect on how language management impacts political representation, fairness in decision-making, and democratic legitimacy. In diplomatic settings, language is not merely a vehicle for content. It is a prerequisite for participation, for being understood, and ultimately for existing within multilateral discourse. Speaking one's own language in an international context is not a privilege, it is a basic guarantee of communicative symmetry. This is especially important today in a moment of deep transformation for multilateralism marked by global crises, geopolitical tensions, and systemic challenges to international cooperation. For this reason, I choose to examine the role of the interpreter not as an accessory figure, but as a structural actor in the contemporary diplomacy. In this sense, the booth is a political and cultural junction. In today's institutional landscape, multilingualism is not a decorative feature. It is a fundamental principle designed to ensure access, fairness, and transparency among member states. However, in practice, multilingualism often clashes with operational limitations, resulting in a growing preference for English as a de facto working language, especially in informal contexts. This trend encourages functional monolingualism even within institutions that are officially multilingual, and the consequences are far from minor. According to the United Nations, more than 200 multilingual meetings are held each day in New York alone, requiring the work of 400 professional interpreters around the world. Language services, including interpretation, translation, and documentation, represent between 15% and 17% of the UN's communication and documentation budget, confirming that linguistic equity is a major institutional investment. Within this framework, interpreters play a central role. They are not simply language technicians, they are institutional safeguards. To better understand the limitations of automated mediation, I conducted a controlled experiment using Whisper and Devo on a highly sensitive political speech, Antonio Guterres' address for Holocaust Memorial Day. While the AI output was syntactically correct and mostly accurate on the surface, it lacked tone, depth, and historical sensitivity. Names were distorted, nuances were lost, and emotional weight was diluted, demonstrating that AI can replicate language but not responsibility. This research has made it possible to analyze the role of multilingualism in international organizations not only as a tool for communication but as a key element of procedural legitimacy. The implementation of complex multilingual regimes responds to a clear political demand to guarantee fair participation of member states regardless of their political influence or official language. However, as technological tools continue to evolve, a tension emerges between operational efficiency and the quality of mediation. AI, particularly transcription and machine translation systems, offers remarkable performance in terms of speed and accessibility. Yet, their integration into diplomatic practice reveals structural limits as soon as contextual complexity is involved. Organizations are often forced to balance linguistic inclusiveness with the need for quick decisions and strict budgetary limits. In a multilateral environment already weakened by political and institutional tensions, reducing working languages and overly relying on technical solutions are not just practical choices. They are compromises that affect the quality of international dialogue. Because in diplomacy, a misinterpretation cannot always be corrected with an apology. Sometimes it becomes part of history.